Good morning. A week on and the US budget negotiations continue. The debt ceiling limit is approaching, but markets appear to be taking it in their strides. A quick look at risk barometers and we can see the S&P 500 was able to muster some strength on Friday, and this is despite the lack of light at the end of the tunnel surrounding the budget negotiations. If we have a look at US dollar performance, we can also see risk trends have mostly hindered rather than helped the greenback over the last week, and certainly looking at high beta currencies such as the Aussie dollar, they continue to move higher. We note the Aussie's above that 94 US cent mark. With the government still shut down, markets have little to go on to understand the US economic trajectory, with the monthly non-farm payrolls report noticeably absent from Friday's trade. Still, it would appear the dynamic at the moment appears to be complacency, with markets betting on some sort of consensus between the Democrats and Republicans before the negative economic repercussions take hold or begin to infiltrate the economy. But the question remains, could this week be the tipping point? But clearly, the longer the shutdown, the greater the damage, and one could also argue markets are on the precipice of a risk-fueled sell-off, which should rejuvenate the greenback. On this basis, one could also argue high beta currencies such as the Aussie and Kiwi and certainly other high beta currencies punching above their weight division. So it's also important to understand the monetary policy side of the equation, with these political issues likely to delay attempts by the Fed to rein in stimulus, which is by default US dollar positive. So we can balance some positive and negatives there. This week we'll miss out on key US data if the government remains offline, with data such as trade balance and retail sales likely to be postponed. Domestically, we've got key labour data on Thursday, which should confirm or counter the trend that we see from abroad, but not before business and consumer confidence data earlier in the week, which is considered a more forward-looking signpost of the local economy. Markets will also be watching a private gauge of health of China, with HSBC Services PMI on Tuesday. Looking further afield, we have ECB's Mario Draghi speaking in the US this week, and European markets will look to key German data on trade, industrial demand and inflation. Across the Atlantic, sterling traders will be watching the latest GDP print, and Bank of England will deliberate on rates. Japan will of course remain a major market moving theme, with the latest Bank of Japan minutes due for release, as well as a speech by Governor Kuroda later in the week. At the moment, if we look at price action, we can see the Aussie around about that 94.4 US cents. It's unchanged from Friday. Cable's around 160.40. That's up around about 0.2%. Euro sitting at 135.70, up 0.1%. Dollar yen 97.2, so that's down about 0.25%. And the Kiwi is at 83.12, largely unchanged.